Thank you, everybody, for being here. If you don't have one of these, we'll pass you one. We have some. So I'd like to start off by talking about education. What's the purpose of education? Well, you know, I'm not going to go into that, but let me tell you a funny story. I used to teach 8th grade science, so I know that if you start off with an opener that has to do with bodily functions, you got them. So I want to tell you about David Hugh. David Hugh is a professor of theoretical mathematics at Georgia Tech University. And David Hugh, one morning, was changing his son's diaper. And as little boys do sometimes, he wet all over his father. His father, of course, being a theoretical mathematician, his first response is to what? Time it. Okay? So he did. That's what he did. And so now he has what he considers to be a data point. So if you're a scientist and you have a data point, what do you want next? More data points, right? Right? So he wants more data points. So he proceeds to gather additional data points. And is very proud to find out that his data point it matches exactly his 6.5-month-old son. So what do you do with this kind of information? If you're a theoretical mathematician, you study it and you publish it, which he did. And that publishing of his data led to two things. First of all, it led to him being given an Ig Nobel Prize. Now, you all have heard about the Nobel Prize. Harvard University, every year, Google it, I promise you won't be disappointed, passes out Ig Nobel Prizes. And the definition of Ig Nobel is not honorable in character or purpose. Okay? And so he garnered an Ig Nobel Prize for his study of this time. But what he was really studying was the golden relationship between the length and circumference of the urethra as a function of the volume of a bladder. There is a golden relationship. The body is wonderfully made, and everything about it is extremely efficient. And that particular ratio, what he found was it didn't matter if you were a 6.5-year-old boy or any other age, that ratio remained the same, and therefore the data point was about the same for everybody. So he won this Ig Nobel Prize. The Ig Nobel Prize, their mission is to first make you laugh, then make you think. So it did for me. Made me laugh, made me think. So that was the first thing he got out of this study. The second thing he got out of this study was he was noted by the US government as he made the list of the 20 most wasteful projects, right? And Jeff Flake, who is the senator from Arizona, talked about it on the Senate floor and considered him he won the most wasteful scientist. However, do you know who funded his work? The US Army. And they said, well, there you have it, you know. The Army's funding wasteful research. However, General, what is his name? Sam Stanton said, are you kidding? When the Army has to go into a new place, one of the very first things they have to do is put up a water tower. Do you think this information might be important information if you're building a water tower that has to extremely efficiently deliver what it is supposed to deliver? Also, they have to go sometimes days at a time where the only water they can carry is on their back, right? So do you need an efficient system to deliver water that you've carried on your back to be able to drink it effectively? Absolutely. So there was immediate applications for what this man had learned in the US Army. And nobody considered that except this guy. So that's why we do education. That's why we do education. Things that might seem to not fit anywhere, somebody's going to see that and go, aha, that's the answer. So that's why we do it. So I wanted to tell you a little bit about some new things that are going on in Sealy ISD. Every year, our school board publishes its goals for the year, and we live and die by those. That is my evaluation. That is my evaluation. The board says these are the things we want to accomplish. Sheryl, did you accomplish them? Yes, good, you get to stay. No, I'm sorry, we're going to look for someone else. So it is important to us, and our goals are directly related to student learning, always. But this year we added another one. Anybody want to hazard a guess? All three before were about student learning. What do you think we added this year?
Safety?
Yes, ma'am. We added safety. And so I wanted to talk to you a little bit about what Sealy ISD is doing for safety. I took 6 people with me to a safety conference this summer, and we learned 2 really important things about what we're doing and not doing. First and foremost, if you focus on the worst case scenario, you've made your school less safe. If you walked in here this morning and somebody frisked you and then you walked through a metal detector, you'd be sitting here with a different feeling, wouldn't you? So that is not prevention. What that does is cause heightened worries, right? Prevention, prevention, prevention. You have to take care of all the things that lead up to a worst case scenario if you want to be safe. And we weren't doing so hot at that. Now we are. One thing that we have begun is scenario drills. Important fact. You are 8 times more likely in a school to deal with somebody trying to commit suicide than you are somebody trying to hurt someone else. Do we ever drill for suicides in schools? No. We do now. We do now. Prevention, prevention, prevention. Also, this last week we kicked off what's called Rachel's Challenge. There's a big difference between mental illness. You're hearing that tossed around a lot by politicians, right? We got to deal with the mental illness. It's not mental illness in our schools that hurt us. It's emotionally disturbed or mentally disturbed that kills us. And those are caused by environmental factors. Homes, situations, kids that get emotionally disturbed or mental disturbance, those have to do not with chemical imbalances, not with those things that cannot be prevented. These have to do with situations and environmental factors. So we have absolutely tenfold worked on how we can approach those in our schools. Kids have to feel safe, they've got to feel wanted, they've got to feel heard, they've got to have a friend. We know all of this. And so now we've gone about being very intentional about those things. We have trained our counselors in mental health first aid, because really, we are the canary in the coal mine for the community. If something's happening in a home, we're the first to know about it. If something's happening in a community, we're the first to know about it. And so we have really upped our game into in how we help and reach out to those kids in those situations. One of the things that I hope you start seeing a lot of are these on the back windows of cars. This is going, next week, this is going to go home to every household that has a student in it. Some of you may have seen it in the Sealy News in August. It was the parents' checklist for school safety. Does anybody remember seeing that? Okay, I can stand in front of you and I can say this. Every parent expects that we do everything in our power to keep those kids safe. Would you agree? Yeah. Guess what? I expect every parent to do these things that will help us prevent it. And so I have a checklist of 3 things. So that's going to go home to every household, and those 3 things are, number 1, see something, say something. In every school tragedy that you've heard about, the kid talked about it to somebody who didn't take him seriously or thought, well, maybe. But that is a very, 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 very key thing that we can do. See something, say something. Teach your kids that. If something doesn't seem right, if someone says something that disturbs you, make sure you tell somebody. That's first on the checklist. Second on the checklist, if your kid is going through something difficult, tell us. We're not here to judge, we're here to help. And if we don't know that your kid is absolutely distraught because that girl broke up with him, and you've never seen him like this before, we can't help him. But if we do know, we can and we will help him. Because think about teenagers, specifically. We know as adults life is like this, right? It gets bad and then it gets better and then it gets bad and then it gets better. We know that. But if you're 14, 15, you don't know that. And you think everything is a trajectory. You think that everything is linear. and things are bad, how much worse are they going to get? And that is why they feel such, they feel these emotions so strongly, because they don't know that they're temporary. And kids do stupid things. Can we all agree on that? They're not grown yet. They're not grown yet. And so if a kid is going through something really awful, we need to know that so that we can help. And that's the number 2 on the checklist. Number 3 on the checklist, lock up your guns. Unload them, lock them up. Because that kid who is in the depths of despair that minute, if he doesn't have access to it, if he can't get his hands on it, he can't do anything to himself or anyone else. And it's state law. I didn't know that until I went into this. I didn't know that. That a person is held responsible if a student under the age of 17 commits a crime with a firearm, your firearm, you're held liable. So lock them up. Just lock them up. Those are the 3 things I expect parents to do. I expect them to teach their kids, see something, say something, and then let us know if there's something. The second thing I expect them to do is to let us know if they personally or their kid personally is going through an issue so that we can help. And the third thing is lock up your guns. If you've got kids in the house, lock up your guns. So to remind them, I have 2 little things that's going to be included in what we're sending home. This is a refrigerator magnet with the 3 things. Say something, need help, speak with a school counselor, locked, unloaded, and out of reach. I hope that's on every refrigerator in Sealy. This is a window decal. We even put a nice little thing on the paper to show you where to put it on the window. This says, I'm doing my part. Because as I said, parents expect schools to do their part, right? I expect them to do their part. And this tells me that they are. Plus, it starts a conversation, doesn't it? So we will have these, these will go out to each parent, and I'm hoping to have enough too that if there's community members, if you want one, get one. I want this to start a conversation. But those are the 3 things that we're doing with respect to prevention, prevention, prevention. Communication, communication, communication for safety. The other thing we learned that we weren't doing so hot at was communication. It has to be completely accurate and it has to be immediate. Let me give you an example. I was sitting at my desk and my phone rang, and it was our police officer. She said, we have an accident in front of the elementary, and then she hung up. Well, my first thought is, we now have 2 elementaries, right? Which one? But I just, people go, when in time of crisis, people go back to what they know. The elementary, I knew she meant Selman, because otherwise she'd have said the new elementary, right? So she said the elementary. So what goes through my mind is, I know we've got kids crossing 90 right there. That was my first thought. So I got in the car, got over there, and sure enough, that's where it was. And there were wreckers and police and ambulance and everything. And what happened was 2 high school kids, one rear-ended the other. Not a big deal. Not a big deal, but was enough to stop traffic in both directions for miles, right? As they got it cleared and got the kids taken care of. So what I'm doing at that point, I'm sending a text message to my tech director saying, put this up on the Facebook and send it out immediately. There's an accident in front of the elementary school. Nobody's hurt, but buses will be delayed. Thanks for your patience. And if we didn't, where did my mind go first? Some kid got ran over on 90. And unless I send that out immediately with accurate information as it's happening, everybody else's mind goes to that, doesn't it? So what we learned is that we have to have a whole library of possible communication things, so that all we have to do is plug in the right information and send it out immediately. And what we're trying to do then, of course, is build trust. If there's something important they need to know about, they're going to hear about it from us, and it's going to be accurate information and it's going to be timely information. So that was the second thing we learned. Prevention, prevention, prevention is the first. Second is communication, communication, communication. And finally, we wanted to be ready, because sometimes really bad things do happen. So every employee for Sealy ISD has been through Stop the Bleed training. If there is a tragedy at a school, 40% of the people who die because they bleed too much. There's a big delay between, if there is an active situation in a school, nobody can come in to tend to anybody who needs help until that situation is absolutely secure. So we might be talking minutes, we might be talking hours. And so therefore, every employee in Sealy ISD has been trained in Stop the Bleed. And furthermore, the Selman Foundation gave us $10,000. So in every classroom, we have a Stop the Bleed kit. So we're ready, should anything like that happen. The other thing we did was we have begun meeting. I think the first time we met was last February. I invite county police, city police, EMS, fire, first responders. We all meet, and we kind of talk through tabletop drills, tabletop situations, so we can know what's going on. Now we're moving it around. So the first one was in my office. The second one was at the high school. Why? So we could tour the high school, so they're familiar with the layout of the high school. Our next one will be at the junior high school. Why? So we can tour the junior high and they can be familiar with that. So that's what we're doing with our board goals with respect to safety for our students. Prevention, communication, and being ready. The other thing I want to talk about today is advanced academics. If you've got a smart kid and you live in Austin County, you want them to go to Sealy School District. Why? We have 25 different dual credit and advanced placement classes. 25. That's unheard of in a school our size. We do advanced academics very, very well in Sealy ISD. Now, is that the kind of stuff that the state measures us on? No, they don't care that we do that. But if you've got a smart kid, you want them to go to Sealy High School. Second, we have an engineering class starting in 7th grade. Goes all the way now. This next year, we'll have our first senior capstone project. And what that looks like is those kids have to determine a problem. They have to research the problem. They have to make sure they have to make a prototype of what they think would solve the problem. They have to research patents to make sure nobody else has already done this and created this. Let me give you an example here. So I was at I don't even know how to describe it, but it involved bucking bulls and all kinds of stuff last weekend. And I was talking to someone about, you know how they rank the bull by how much it bucks, right? You know, you get a score for that. So I was saying, wouldn't that be cool if some kid invented a gyroscope that could actually measure, so you could have a quantitative measure of the spinning and the jumping and the height and all that. And his kid is actually in this engineering class. He said, I'm going to mention that to him. That's the kind of project that can come out of this. And it's called Project Lead the Way. It's engineering. And nationwide, there are hundreds of patents that have been garnered by kids that are in Project Lead the Way. And we have that program in Sealy, Texas. We have that here. If you've got a smart kid in Austin County, you want them to come to Sealy ISD. Starting in 7th grade, a kid can take German or Spanish. So if a kid really wanted to graduate with 3 languages, English, German, and Spanish, they can do that in Sealy ISD. We have a coordinator for gifted and talented for Sealy ISD. That's all she does, is advanced academics, to make sure those our best and our brightest are challenged. And finally, we started something this year in kindergarten. It's dual language. So there's a difference between being bilingual and biliterate. Biliterate means I can read, write, and speak in 2 languages. That is a gift, not one many people have. And this year we began with kindergartners, half English speaking only, half Spanish speaking only. And they're going to go together as a cohort through 5th grade. And they're going to graduate from 5th grade being biliterate. What a gift. And we also know, research tells us that people are most able to take on a new language when they're younger. So this cohort will work its way through. We'll start another one next year and another one next year. So those are some things that are happening in Sealy ISD. But we also have a couple really important things happening too at the high school, and I brought 2 gentlemen with me to talk about it. The first one I want to introduce is Dr. Jeff Koch. Dr. Jeff Koch is our career and technology education. Remember vocational classes? They used to call them vocational. Well, that engineering class I just described to you is a career and technology education. So it goes all the way from the traditional vocational things all the way through that. So and we also opened a college and career center too. So I'm going to let him tell you about that. And he is here with Mr. Jeff Oliver, who is, I'm sorry, why did I say that? Okay, Troy Oliver. Yes, thank you. Yes, yes. Troy Oliver, who heads up our extremely nationally successful ag program. And we've got a couple things on the books that I'm going to have them tell you about. And of course, you know I'm going to ask for your help in them. Just know that going in, okay? All right, thank you, Jeff. Yes, sir.
All right, I'll just hold this for a minute. And we are blessed at Sealy to have a superintendent that is forward-thinking and has good foresight, and a board that is very supportive of ideas that she takes to them and we take to them as well. And one of these ideas was a college and career center. And so I'm over that as well. And the purpose of that is that we have a facility in place that students can come up, they can get information, they can get help filling out forms. Parents can come up and get help filling out forms. It serves as a testing center for TSI. We also bring recruiters in, and students are able during the school day to come up and use that facility to meet with recruiters, be it college recruiters, military recruiters, whatever type. We also have some that are meeting with employers so they can get hired on as soon as their high school career is complete. And so super excited about that, and it's starting to gain a lot of momentum as we go through. I'm meeting with every senior and their parents just to discuss options. And once we finish the seniors, we'll start into the juniors. But just so they have a clear understanding of it's all right to go to a 2-year school. You don't have to go immediately to a 4-year. And if we go to a 2-year, where are we going to go? We can go right here in Blinn in Sealy. And so I share with them what are the advantages, what are the disadvantages. So not only the student understands that, but the parents understand that as well. Everyone that comes in, I tell them this is not only a center for students, but it's a center for the parents and the community. And so we're super excited about that. In addition to that, the board has agreed to put some funding in place for a new culinary facility. So we will now have a commercial kitchen. We are in the process of touring and determining exactly what we need, what we want, okay, based on the money we were allotted. And so we're right in the process of doing that right now. We would like this facility to be where it's open maybe all week, maybe a couple days a week, to serve lunch out of. So that's kind of the thing we're looking at, and looking at locations, different things to where people can either come and just pick up a meal or a lunch and not have to stay there, can take it on the road or whatever. So looking at a bunch of different things. So we're in the process of doing that. Also in the process of a new animal ag facility. And I'm going to bring Troy up to visit about economic impact and some things about that.
All right, I can't hold that. I get too excited talking about things. I'm going to need both hands. All right, good morning. I'm Troy Oliver. I'm one of the ag teachers at Sealy High School. And I'm here this morning. I'm going to share in just a brief few minutes my passion. My passion is teaching kids. My passion is teaching kids through agriculture. So whenever I'm teaching, I need to know who I'm talking to. So I'm going to ask you, show of hands, how many of you are involved with agriculture? Okay, had maybe 40% of you. Okay, let's do a little teaching now. When we came in, we had a beautiful breakfast for us, right? We had coffee, we had donuts, kolaches. Nearly every one of you stopped and took something this morning, you're involved with agriculture. If you eat, which we all do, we like to eat, okay, then you are involved with agriculture. So how many of you are involved with agriculture? Okay, we should be at 100% each and every day. We are consumers of our nation's largest employer, agriculture. We are the consumer of that, whether we're involved with it in a production standpoint or not. We talked about new and innovative. Well, we're definitely traditional whenever we talk about agriculture. Been around forever. It's what we do. We have to eat. It's our most basic. After, we got to be safe and we got to eat. Those are two things that are just, we overlook sometimes, but we need to focus on them. By the year 2050, 30 years from now, when our kids are sitting in this place right here as leaders in our community of Sealy, 30 years from now, the world's population will be 9.8 billion people. 9.8 billion people. We will need a 60% increase in the production of food in the next 30 years. A 60%. So whatever business you're in, think about a 60% growth over the next 30 years. 60%. We have to produce 60% more food. So we have to be prepared at the earliest of levels to produce kids that are able to meet that need, our most basic need of producing food. And that's where the high school, agriculture sciences, and the FFA, that's our task, that's our challenge. How will we feed the world? Because if we just take the kids and the families and the producers and the people that are in agriculture today, and they stay in agriculture, we will not be able to meet the needs over the next 30 years. We have to find new people. We have to find new ways. We have to do we have to emerge technology into a traditional field, and we have to prepare students to be able to go into the most traditional job and the biggest industry in the world, which is producing our food. We have to prepare them for that. And if we wait until they graduate college, or if we wait until they're in college to start introducing them to these things, then we're not. Let me ask some other questions. Where did you learn how to show up for work? Where did you learn how to follow instructions? Where did you learn how to solve problems? Responsibility, showing up. Yes, sir. No, sir. What can I do? What's the challenge? Do you need me? What time do I need to show up? Show up early, work hard all day long, and go home late. Where did you learn those things? You did. That's why you're a leader in our community. That's why you're here this morning. You're here to serve. You're here to network. You're here to do things that go beyond your business. And that's what we do in the FFA. We try to, real simple, our three things are personal growth, premier leadership, and career success through agriculture education. One way we do that is by giving students a hands-on opportunity to learn, a hands-on project. We go back and we give them, we're going to just take it to the simplest level. We give them an animal. They buy an animal. They go in the cattle business. They go in the pig business. They go in the sheep, goat, chicken, turkey business. They have a project. That project is theirs. That's their introduction to the system. That project is supervised, and that educational experience is followed along with an ag teacher. We have over 250 students in high school agriculture sciences at Sealy. We teach welding, we teach animals, we teach plants, we teach flowers, we teach leadership, all those things. We find a project, whether it's building something in the shop, raising a livestock project, growing something, arranging something in the case of flowers, we find something that they can call their own, learning by doing. Well, traditionally our students that raise an animal project do that at their home. They do that at their house. Their parents have had some kind of historical involvement with agriculture. They've got cattle, and so they're going to raise a steer. They have 2 or 3 acres or more, and they can raise a pig in the barn in the backyard. Okay, they want to raise a sheep and goat. They take it to Austin County Fair. We just finished up Austin County Fair, and that's a big thing in our community. That project allows them to go into the animal business and learn by doing. Well, our world is changing. That opportunity is not available to every student. Many of them live in subdivisions, apartments, places that they don't have the option to raise an animal project. So we want to build an extension of the classroom, a ag barn. Okay, so here's where I need your help this morning. Okay, if I say impact, everybody's got to participate. This is class. We all participate, okay? If I say impact, your response is build a barn. Okay? Let's try this. So we want to make an impact on the Sealy community. We have students that are not able to take advantage of the opportunity that will impact their lives. Okay, currently we have 70, there's a handout went around, we have approximately 75 students each year that raise an animal project for Austin County Fair. Over the last 6 years, those students have returned to them $1.75 million, $1.75 million in earnings that they got from raising an animal project. That's a pretty big impact. Okay, whenever those students go out and they go in the pig business, okay, I have some data there on your handout. When they go in the pig business and that student's going to raise a pig, they bring $1,100, approximately an average of $1,100 back to our community. They buy buckets, they buy feed, they buy other products, veterinary products, they buy things that animal needs as they produce that hog project. Okay, that's a pretty big impact on our Sealy economy. Thank you. Keep up. Keep it up. Okay, that's why we always have somebody that sits close. Okay, so that's huge. And just think about as they raise that animal, all the interactions with all the people. They walked into that feed store and they bought something, but they interacted with that person at the counter and they searched and they made decisions about what products they needed. They went to our vets and they interacted with their vet. They took that animal and they brought it to Austin County Fair and they said, look what I did. The pride that's instilled in them for the product that they produced. They go out across the state of Texas and they interact with producers, the leading producers in the state of Texas, to find those livestock projects. And they build relationships with students and producers and university people across the state as they raise those projects, because that makes a huge impact on that student. And if we're talking about cattle, the average cattle project brings $3,500 back to our community, and the average lamb or goat about $1,500. So it's not just about what that kid brings back to themselves, it's about the impact that project makes on our community. The bigger picture for me is the difference that it makes for that student, the difference that it makes in all the things that they learn. Picture the summer. We got a lot of kids that are at home alone in the summer, parents are at work. You know, if that student gets up every morning at 6 o'clock and has to go into his barn or go to the Ag Project Center built by Sealy ISD and care for his animal, he's learning all summer long. He's working all summer long. She is interacting with other students that have similar goals and ideas about that animal all summer long. Whenever we teach in class and we want to share something that is beyond a video, beyond a worksheet, we want to have a lab, we can walk and go over to a facility that allows them to do this. We want to build a barn. We want to make an impact on our kids, and we need the help. I'll make it quick here, but we want to build a 10 to 15,000 square foot. We're going to build a 10 to 15,000 square foot facility behind the bus barn in Sealy ISD. It's going to house 70 plus projects of our students. Our kids that do not currently have the opportunity to participate in this will be able to put an animal into the barn with our help. Okay, we will teach them and help them and supervise them along the way, and they will experience this, and they will become a part of already a hugely successful group of our students. We'll add to it. And so we need to design this and build this and make it happen, and we need people that can help us do that. And how can you help? Well, if you want to make an impact, then we want you to help us build that barn. And the Sealy ISD is already committed to make it happen. We're adding to it now. And so my contact information is on here, how you can get a hold of me. Ms. Moore, Dr. Cook are very reachable. They'll be here with you all, each month. You can reach out to them, and we want your help. What are some ways that you can help? If you've got ideas, if you've got anything that can help us make this happen, we need money. Okay, we need money. I'll just be simple. We need money. If you want to help us with some money, we can make that happen. If you want to be involved with one kid and helping that one kid be successful to a group of them, we can make that happen. We have many, many ways, from a very small amount to huge amounts, that you can help us. And picture a facility that you have every day after school. You have somewhere between 50 and 75 students there working. They're cleaning their pens. They're caring for their animal. They're stewards of their project. They are passionate about what they are doing. They are interacting with other students that are doing that. It sounds very similar to that work and that excitement and that passion that goes on in our athletics each day after school, in the gyms and on the fields. We'd have a facility for our ag students. Why is this important to us? It's for our kids. But remember what I said, that in the next 30 years, we have to increase 60% of the food that we are currently producing. I grew up in Baytown, Texas, and my family we were kind of leaving the farm. We still farmed rice, but the world was changing around us, and land was becoming more valuable than the crops that we were producing. And my grandfather was a hard-working person. He worked 2 jobs. He worked in the refinery, and he also worked farming. And things were looking things just on the farm weren't going the way we wanted to. So he called me, my cousins, and all the farm animals in for a meeting. So he brought the hogs in. Okay, he brought the cattle in. He brought the chickens, all the little hens that were always just yapping and everything. Brought them all in and had a meeting. And he told us, he said, around here, we've got to do more. Times are tough. We've got a job to do around here. Times are tough. And so he's going through each species and each of us and telling us what we need to do and how we need to do more. And he said, really, it boils down to involvement versus commitment. He says, everybody here is involved. So whenever I ask the question, are you involved with agriculture? Now we know we're all involved. We've already made an improvement this morning. But as my grandfather talked to all of us, the chickens, the pigs, the cattle, the cow, she gave the milk. We helped her, but she gave the milk. Who knows, the horse, I'm not sure what the horse did. Horses just they don't give much. They're fun to look at, and those of you who have horses may relate to that. But so the chickens they were talking like chickens do, and they said, we do our part. We give an egg every day. Okay, we give an egg every day. If you had bacon and eggs this morning, right? That chicken, she did her part. She gave that egg. She was involved with your breakfast. But the question is, what was that pig? Okay, that pig, he was committed. Okay? He gave everything he had for that farm to be successful. He couldn't give any more. So we need your involvement. We hope for your commitment. We're doing great things at Sealy ISD. Ms. Moore talked about all the things that we're doing with safety and in the classroom and in career and technology education, we continue to try to produce leaders in the ag department that will feed the world. And we know not every kid is going to become a farmer, but we need to be knowledgeable about the most important industry that we have. We are the consumers of that. And if we can improve our students and make them better consumers, and some of them to be better producers, then we're doing more than just being involved. We're committed to that. So thank you. If there's anything I can do to help facilitate your involvement with our amazing facility that we're going to build behind the bus barn, please contact us. Thank you.